Well, good afternoon. At the outset, let me thank Rodney Orji, the principal of the Academy of Urban Planning, for hosting us all this afternoon. And I want to acknowledge Marc Rush, the principal of the Bushwick School for Social Justice, Nilda Gomez-Katz, the principal of the Academy for Environmental Leadership, and Dr. Perry Rainey, principal of the Brooklyn School for Math and Research. These are people who really made a difference, make a difference. They are the management and schools that we're going to talk about that really have done a spectacular job in helping our kids, and the fact that they're willing to dedicate their lives to the future of our country and our city is really admirable. My hat goes off to them. We were reminiscing before, do I remember any of the principals when I went to school? I can remember my sixth grade one, but I couldn't remember the others. So, but they, I guess they didn't do that bad a job with me. I got through it anyway, is all we can say for it. The new schools that have replaced the Bushwick High School, which long occupied this building, was not giving enough students the excellent education they deserved. We've changed to 4 schools that are part of one of the most sweeping reforms that our administration has made to the city's public schools, replacing large, old, failing schools with smaller schools. And the reason that we are confident that in smaller and more academically rigorous settings like this one, students would excel. I'm happy to say that that is the case. We were right. At the Academy for Urban Planning and in schools like this all across the city, it is clear from our analysis of the high school graduation numbers that the State Department of Education released earlier today. School's Chancellor Dennis Walcott and I will run through the analysis now. Let me see if I can figure out how to use this. And there we go, for hopefully that's the first one. At first, it's clear that our schools are succeeding more, more students are succeeding than ever before. More than 52,000 students were 4-year graduates in 2011. The ways to read this is, I don't know if this part's not working. The way to read this is the bottom, the cohort of 07. Those, yeah, okay, because the. Oh, wait, no, I just figured that just now it's working. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it is. It's just, it reflects off the thing, so you can't do it. You have to point to it. The cohort of 07 is, kids started in 07 and graduated in 11. 52,000 of them were 4-year graduates in 2011, a year that saw our graduation rate climb to 65.5%, making it the 10th consecutive year of graduation rate gains. And we'll talk about them, put that in historic context in a minute. This slide shows that, the next one, that after a decade when the graduation rate in city schools were essentially flat, under our administration, the graduate rate in the city has climbed steadily, and there are various yardsticks for measuring that progress. The orange line, for example, presents the rate of students receiving diplomas since 2005, and you'll see that it has increased by nearly 41%. That's the way the state calculates it. The way we calculate it is slightly different, but I think there's no question, as long as the lines trend together, any ways you measure it, it's clear that more students in our schools are succeeding. The next graph shows that many are succeeding because they are getting extra help and the extra time that they need to complete their studies, often because they're more likely to be English language learners or students with disabilities, and giving them extra time and help is something that makes some sense, because we know that a high school diploma really is essential to their success. And you can see the results on this slide. Starting with 3 sets of bars on the left, they show the 4-, 5-, and 6-year graduation rates. So if you go back to the first cohort of 07, you can see 4-, 5-, and 6-year graduation rates. You can see the same thing for the cohort of 03, 04, and 05. Obviously, for those that started in 06, we don't have the 6-year graduation rate yet, and for the class of 11, we don't have the 5 or 6 years. But I've always thought that those kids who need more help and have the gumption and the drive to stick around, those are the ones that really deserve our admiration. It'd be easy to just drop out, but these kids, whether they have English language problems or they have family problems where they have to work often and can't come to school every day, it really is amazing. They know the value of education, and they deserve a lot of our admiration. For example, you can see that in those that entered in '06, the cohort there, 65.1% graduated in the fourth year, an additional 5.3 graduated in their fifth year, and we think that for those that entered in '07 as well, when you get this 5-year and 6 and 5-year and 6-year graduation rates, the trend will continue. And this is an era when a high school diploma has essentially become the minimum requirement for most jobs, as well as the threshold to higher education. That really is a good thing for our students and our city. And just if you're dealing with the problems that a lot of these kids have, as I said before, they deserve our admiration. Their determination and drive really does make their accomplishments all that more impressive. The next slide shows that this is really good news because more and more students are graduating, even as the standards that we're asking them to meet get tougher and tougher. Tougher standards is something that we wholeheartedly support, and this bar chart shows back in '08, if you read the cohort, the lines on the left, you needed a score of 55 or higher on 5 statewide regents. Comparing that to the class of '11, which is on the right-hand side, their students had to score at least 65 on 4 regents exam and at least 55 on 1 to get a diploma. So the standards have gone up, but at the same time you can see the number of students graduating have gone up. And that's exactly the direction you want it to go. And you can also see that 55.7% of the students entering 9th grade in '07 earned Regents diplomas or advanced Regents diplomas, compared with only 42.7% who started back in '04. And that's if you take the orange and the yellow lines, the top 2 bars, and add them together, 42 on the left, 55.7 on the right. And the key way on the right, when you look in your literature, the advanced Regents are the darker orange, and the yellowy orange or yellow, whatever it is the Regents exam. And then the local diploma is the one, and you can see fewer kids are getting local, more of them are getting Regent diplomas. Here, this shows that what we're really here to talk about, and the point that I made at the beginning, the remarkable success of the new smaller high schools that our administration has brought to the city. If you look back there in '06, the high schools that we phased out had a graduation rate of just 38%, and by comparison, in 2011, the new high schools that replaced them had a graduation rate of 70.1%. So it really is an amazing difference. Same buildings, same kids, but making sure that the schools do a lot better job. The orange bars represent the graduation rates at a number of large high schools, like Bushwick High School, that were phased out between '02 and '08. And while those rates varied, none of them was any good. None of those orange bars is above 50%. The green bars, on the other hand, show the dramatically higher graduation rates in the schools that have replaced the ones phased out. Take Bushwick High School, for example. In '02, its graduation rate was less than 23%, and by comparison, in 2011, the combined graduation rate of the 3 schools now on this campus has grown from 23% to 69%. And that includes the Academy for Urban Planning, where last year the graduation rate increased by 10%. And that means that more than 63% of seniors here graduated, and I want to congratulate Mr. Orji on that improvement, and I'm sure that, like me, he won't be satisfied until this figure hits 100% at this school and at all our high schools. Now, we've made substantial progress over the last 10 years. I think it's fair to say that we have a lot more to do. Whether or not we're even keeping up with the increased demands from industry, I'm not sure. One thing's for sure, we are falling behind the worldwide increase in improvement in public education. New York used to be in the top 5 or 10 in math and reading and science. Today we're lucky to be in the top 50. We have to focus and do an awful lot more. We're doing the right things. We are improving the grades, particularly of Black and Latino kids who typically had not tested as well. They've gone at increased at double the rate of the white and Asian kids, but they're still behind. And all 4 cohorts are getting further behind what's going on internationally. One of the things that is really scary for this country is we have the greatest graduate education programs in the world. People go there, we won't give them green cards, they go elsewhere, and they're going to build even greater universities elsewhere, and they certainly are building industries overseas, and they're improving public education around the world even faster than we are. So let me turn everything over to Dennis, and he's going to focus on the ethnicity and college readiness, comparing New York City schools to schools in other large cities in our state. Dennis? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, as usual, for your leadership, your bold actions, and most importantly, support on behalf of our 1.1 million students. And before I go into the slides, I want to take this opportunity to thank Shale and his team, all the employees of DOE for their hard work, and for our principals who are standing with us today. As a result of their vision, their energy, their intellect, and hard work, our schools continue to make gains, and it's all a team effort to make sure we work on behalf of our students. So let me just advance the slide and show you what the mayor was talking about. What really makes this growth so noteworthy is that it's happening across ethnic groups. As you can see in this slide, our most at-risk populations, the Black and Latino students, have seen the largest gains. The four-year graduation rate for our Black students has increased by more than 50%, and nearly twice as many Hispanic students graduated in the class of 2011 than the class of 2005. Also, if you really dig deeper into the figures, you will see there were 16,802 more Black and Hispanic students who earned Regents and Advanced Regent diplomas in the class of 2011 compared to the class of 2005. That is a tremendous figure, and as the mayor indicated, with the standards going up, we're having more students who are Black and Latino graduate either with their Regents diploma or their Advanced Regents diploma. And this is also up by 3,000 as compared to last year as well. These numbers mean that thousands and thousands of lives have changed for the better, and we know that a high school diploma, as the mayor indicated, is really now the minimal requirement to make sure that we hopefully impact life and make sure that our students are able to progress and do the things that we expect them to do. Now, the graduation rate for Black students did hold steady, which means that we can't let up. There's more work to do, and we're going to be pushing hard this year and future years to make sure we increase the rates even to a higher level. Through our programs like the Expanded Success Initiative, where we will do intensive work with Black and Latino males in 40 high schools, and this is part of the mayor's Young Men's Initiative, we're going to be focusing at your extra attention and giving extra credit on progress reports for these students and making sure that we're holding our schools accountable for reducing, hopefully and eventually closing the achievement gap for Black and Hispanic students. Let me take the next slide. Next slide is taking a look at our high school graduation rates and the rising workforce demanding more education experience. Our top goal needs to be preparing these students for college and careers. And no matter how you measure it, our numbers here are increasing too. On what's called the state's aspirational performance measure, New York City students have improved by 7.8 points since 2005. And on what we measure as the City College Readiness Index, which is the CUNY college standard, New York City students have seen a gain by 8.6 points. And the difference between the two is that the state measure does not consider SATs a measure of college readiness, while CUNY does. And as you can see, on the CUNY measure, students did better than last year, but on the state measure, there was a slight decline. And even though our students are better off today, we need to keep improving the quality of teaching and student work in our schools. And this year, all of our teachers are leading lessons, are learning new lessons around Common Core standards, which are more rigorous and designed to prepare our students for college and careers. And just this past Saturday, we held a professional development session with over 1,400 principals and administrators around Common Core and all the reforms to make sure we constantly reinforce that message. And our principals will be going back to their schools to work with their teachers to make sure we're upping our game as far as college and career readiness. Our goal is to provide a high-quality education for all of our students that prepare them for college and careers and really make sure that we can make sure they focus on being successful adults. And by this measure and all the measures that the mayor talked about, we are succeeding. Our graduation rates continue to rise, beating out other large cities and states as a whole, and serving with fewer students on those other cities, and especially students of immigrant populations than New York City. As I've said before, and I'll say again, we have extraordinary students, we have fantastic teachers, we have great school leaders, parent coordinators, and staff working on behalf of our students. And as a result of the mayor and his leadership in this past decade, we have succeeded in creating conditions where strong educators can be effective with students from all backgrounds in the city. And I just want to reinforce one point that the mayor made, and it's such an important point, because I think what these figures indicate is that our dropout rate also has stayed constant. So the dropout rate has stayed constant, which has been a significant reduction over the years, from 22 now down to, I think, 12.1. Yet we're holding our students a lot longer. And you've heard the mayor talk about year after year those 5- and 6-year graduates. And you've seen in the charts that the mayor indicated that they're doing better as well. If we can hold the students, we will graduate the students, whether in 4, 5, 6, or even those 7-year graduates. Our goal is to make sure the students stay in school, get a quality education, go on to college or careers, and become successful adults. None of this would have been possible without the mayor and his leadership, and we truly appreciate everything that you have done on behalf of our students. And now it's my pleasure to turn it back to the mayor. Mr. Mayor?
Dennis, thank you, and congratulations to all 125,000 people who work for the Department of Ed. Whether it's the principals, APs, teachers, custodians, school guards, parent coordinators, administrators, there's lots of people that deserve the credit. As a team, they really have done something amazing. If you ask the president or his secretary of education, we are the role model of what you should do with a big city public school. We have an awful lot further to go, and sadly, I think that big parts of this country don't understand the value of education, and they are not raising their standards the way we are doing it here. Does it make the task of education greater? Yes, it does, but it also means the value of the education that students get is better and is more relevant to the world that they're going to live in. Before taking questions, let me just summarize for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers. El año pasado obtuvimos el número más alto de estudiantes graduados de nuestras escuelas en 4 años. Hemos visto un incremento continuo en la tasa de graduación de nuestras escuelas públicas en los últimos 10 años. And with that, we'd be happy to take